Here's something nobody tells men over 60. The single biggest threat to your longevity isn't what you eat. It's not your blood pressure. It's not even inactivity. It's doing all of this alone. I know. That sounds almost insultingly simple. But stay with me, because the biology behind this will change the way you think about every workout you do for the rest of your life. My name is Marcus Reed. I'm 58 years old. I spent nearly 2 decades as a professional athlete, and the last 15 years coaching men like you, through the second half of their lives. And I've made every mistake in the book, including this one, grinding through years of solo training while wondering why the results kept flattening out. More effort, less return. Sound familiar? Here's the scientific punch I want you to feel right now. A landmark study published in PLOS Medicine found that social isolation carries the same mortality risk as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. 15 cigarettes a day. That's not a metaphor. That's a biological mechanism. And we're going to break down exactly how it works inside your body, and more importantly, exactly how you flip it. In the next few minutes, you're going to discover 4 things. First, why exercising alone actually elevates your cortisol in ways that sabotage muscle growth. Second, the oxytocin performance loop that most men over 60 have never accessed and what it does to your testosterone. Third, how shared physical effort suppresses a protein called myostatin that literally puts a ceiling on how much muscle you can build. And fourth, a neurochemical phenomenon called synchronized movement that researchers at Oxford say is more pain-relieving than doing the same workout alone. And at the very end, I'm going to give you a force multiplier habit, one small addition to your routine that makes everything else in this video work twice as hard. Let's get into it. The cortisol trap. Why solo training after 60 is fighting uphill. Raymond is 67, retired engineer, smart man, meticulous about his health. He tracked his macros, slept 8 hours, trained 4 days a week without fail. But after 2 years of this disciplined solo routine, his muscle mass was declining. His doctor told him it was just aging. Raymond almost believed that. It wasn't aging, it was cortisol. Here's the mechanism. When you train alone, especially as an older man, your body perceives that physical exertion without a social buffer as a mild threat. Evolutionarily speaking, our nervous systems developed in tribes. Solitary intense effort without the presence of trusted companions activates a low-grade stress response. Your adrenal glands release cortisol, and cortisol in chronically elevated states is a catabolic hormone. It breaks down muscle tissue. It competes directly with testosterone for receptor sites. It suppresses the mTOR pathway, mTOR being the master molecular switch that tells your muscles to grow and repair after training. Think of mTOR as the foreman on a construction site. When cortisol is high, the foreman goes home early. Nothing gets built. Research published in the Journal of Health and Social Behavior showed that men who exercise in social settings demonstrate measurably lower post-exercise cortisol compared to men performing identical workouts alone. Same exercise, same duration, different hormone profile, different results. The protocol fix here is deceptively simple. You don't need a full training partner 5 days a week. Start with one socially anchored session per week. A walking group, a friend who meets you at the gym on Tuesdays. Even a virtual accountability call before your workout lowers that cortisol baseline enough to meaningfully shift your anabolic response. But cortisol is only one piece of this. Because there's a second hormone at work, one that most men in their 60s have been completely ignoring. The oxytocin engine, the hormone your gym program never mentions. Frank, 71, played recreational soccer his whole adult life. When his knees finally forced him off the pitch, he transitioned to solo gym work. Within 18 months, he told me he felt disconnected from his body. His motivation cratered. His testosterone panel showed a significant decline. His doctor adjusted his training load, changed his diet. Nothing moved the needle. Nobody checked his oxytocin. Oxytocin is known as the bonding hormone, which makes men immediately dismiss it as something soft, something not relevant to performance. That's a mistake, a serious one. Oxytocin does something remarkable in the context of exercise. It acts as a potent anti-inflammatory agent in muscle tissue. It accelerates satellite cell activation, satellite cells being the stem cells responsible for repairing and building new muscle fibers. When oxytocin is elevated post-exercise, your muscles literally recover faster and more completely. In men over 60, where recovery is already slower than it was at 40, this is not a trivial gain. This is the difference between training hard twice a week and training hard 3 or 4 times a week without breaking down. And here's the key. Oxytocin spikes in response to social bonding during shared physical effort. Eye contact, shared struggle, laughter mid-workout, a high five after a tough set. These aren't soft gestures, they are biochemical transactions. The protocol here is intentional social design around your training. Don't just work out near other people. Engage. A brief warm-up conversation, an agreed shared goal for the session. Something as simple as, let's both hit 5 sets of this today, creates the shared challenge context that oxytocin responds to. And the compound benefit? Elevated oxytocin also supports testosterone production by downregulating the stress axis. So when you build the social layer into your training, you're not just recovering better, you're shifting your entire hormonal environment toward anabolism. But there's a third force working in group exercise that operates deeper than hormones, all the way down to the molecular ceiling on your muscle growth itself. Myostatin and the pack effect. How group training raises your biological ceiling. Here's a concept that fundamentally changed how I think about training men in their 60s. There is a protein in your body called myostatin. Its entire job is to limit muscle growth. Think of myostatin as the governor on an old truck engine. It exists to prevent you from going too fast. In evolutionary terms, excessive muscle mass was metabolically expensive. Myostatin kept that in check. The problem is that, as men age, myostatin activity tends to increase. Your body raises the governor. You can train hard, and your ceiling drops anyway. This is a primary driver of sarcopenia, the age-related muscle loss that affects nearly 30% of men over 60. Now here's where community training enters the equation in a way that most people haven't connected. High-intensity effort combined with a positive social environment generates a specific neuroendocrine cascade: elevated growth hormone, suppressed cortisol, elevated IGF-1, that research suggests can meaningfully downregulate myostatin expression. Let me translate that. Your training companions, through their presence and shared effort, help lower the biological ceiling on what your body is capable of building. You're not just benefiting from encouragement. You are chemically altering the regulatory environment of your muscle cells. I saw this with a group of 6 men I trained together in Atlanta, average age 64. After 12 weeks of group-based resistance training, their lean mass gains outpaced a matched cohort of solo trainers by a factor I had never seen in individual programming alone. Same protocol, same nutrition guidance. The variable was social context. The practical protocol: aim for at least 2 group-based resistance training sessions per week, where you and a partner or small group are performing the same movement simultaneously. The synchrony matters, as you're about to find out. Synchronized movement, the neurochemical phenomenon that changes everything. David, 63, joined a rowing club 18 months ago. He'd been training seriously for years, a genuinely disciplined man. But he told me that within 2 months of rowing in sync with a crew, his pain tolerance during effort increased dramatically. His enjoyment of training hit a level he hadn't felt since his 30s, and he started recovering better between sessions than he ever had alone. David wasn't imagining things. He was experiencing what researchers at Oxford call the synchronized movement effect. When human beings move in physical synchrony with others rowing together, lifting in rhythm, running stride for stride, the endorphin release is significantly greater than the same movement performed alone. And I want to be clear, this isn't about competition. This isn't about keeping pace with someone. It's about the synchrony itself, the shared rhythm. Endorphins are endogenous opioids, your body's internally produced pain suppressants and mood regulators. Greater endorphin output means higher pain threshold during exercise. Higher pain threshold means you can push closer to the adaptive edge, the place where real physiological change happens. In men over 60, where joints, accumulated injuries, and central fatigue often limit training intensity. Before the muscles are truly maxed out, this endorphin advantage is a genuine performance unlocking mechanism. The protocol: you don't need a rowing shell. Any movement done in synchronized rhythm with a partner unlocks this response. Side by side, walking with matched stride, synchronized bodyweight squats, even breathing in unison during a cool-down stretch. Build rhythmic shared movement into your routine at least once per week, and your nervous system will respond. I want to pause here for a second and ask you something real. What does your current training look like in terms of community? Are you going it alone because you think that's what discipline looks like? Or because you haven't found the right people yet? Drop that in the comments right now, because the answer is going to shape everything we talk about for the rest of this. And I read every single one. Here is the X factor I promised you at the beginning, and it's almost embarrassingly accessible. The force multiplier is this: a shared post-exercise debrief. Not a long one. 5 minutes. You and your training partner, immediately after your session ends, speaking out loud about what you accomplished, what felt hard, what you noticed, what you're going to do next time. This practice does something neurologically specific. It triggers a secondary oxytocin release through verbal bonding and shared narrative. It consolidates the dopamine reward signal from the workout itself, reinforcing the neural association between social connection and physical effort. Over time, your brain begins to anticipate the social reward as part of the training reward, which dramatically increases long-term adherence. In behavioral research on exercise adherence in older adults, social accountability interventions consistently outperform all other motivational strategies for men over 60. Not goal setting, not tracking, not even financial incentives. Social accountability. 5 minutes, out loud, with another person. That's the multiplier. If you've made it through this entire conversation, you are not the average guy. The average man over 60 is quietly losing muscle, losing motivation, and losing years, because nobody told him that the gym is not a solo sport. You now understand that the people around you during training are not accessories to your routine. They are biological inputs. They lower your cortisol. They elevate your oxytocin. They help suppress the molecular brake on your muscle growth. They extend your endorphin threshold. They keep you coming back. You are in the top 5% of men your age who take this seriously enough to understand the science, and that matters. Because the men who understand the why are the men who actually change. Not for a month, for life. One action before you close this. Text one person right now. A friend, a neighbor, a guy from your old team. Tell him you want to train together this week. That's it. One text. The biology takes care of the rest. Your strongest years don't have to be behind you. In many ways, with the right knowledge and the right people beside you, they're still ahead.